Hello humans, I'm TheAlienDoctor, but you can call me Alien, and welcome back to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition preview / beta video. This is actually the first preview to have the 1.19 version number. What this means is it's unlikely there will be any more 1.18 updates because, well, they've started working on 1.19. So this is preview 1.19.0.21 or beta 1.19.0.2. Now, because there is new world generation and whatnot, and also we're in the 1.19 version numbers now, I figured it's probably a good idea to create a 1.19 preview world, seeing as my 1.18 beta world is, well, for 1.18 betas, and, well, there's no point in covering them if, you know, we can have this new world gen with all the new biomes and stuff. So, this is my new world, and if you're wondering, this is actually the coordinates. One thing to point out, to actually get the wild update features, you need to make sure you have the wild update toggle enabled in the experiments section. Obviously on the old UI it'll look a little bit different. But anyway, let's create this world. Apparently this seed should actually be one that has the mangrove swamp in. So let's find out. And here we go. So we are here at the new mangrove biome and the new testing world for the 1.19 previews that I'm going to be using. Whilst I was creating the world, I actually assumed something that was incorrect, for it is listed in the changelog that you actually no longer need to use the experimental toggle to get the wild update features. This is most likely because they've moved into 1.19 version numbers. So I'm not quite sure why the wild update toggle is still there. But yeah, you don't actually have to have it enabled in these previews because these are 1.19 previews, so you don't need the wild update experimental toggles in there. Hopefully it all makes sense. It's a little bit confusing to wrap your head around it first, but anyway. So the mangrove swamp biome has been added, which is what you can see behind me right now. So the mangrove swamp biome isn't actually replacing the swamp biome, it is more of an addition, kind of like how you sort of get these bamboo forests in jungles. It's sort of like that, where the mangrove swamp is sort of like a sub-biome of the swamp, if that makes sense. But just looking at this biome, I actually think it looks really nice. This is the biggest one I've actually been able to find. It's actually a decent size, it does go on for a little bit. And you can see over here, when it generates on land, it actually generates with these mud blocks. Yeah, this is mud. But anyway, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. So they've added the mangrove swamp biome, and then they've added the actual mangrove tree feature. So these are all mangrove trees, and you can see here they generate with these mangrove roots. They also have mangrove leaves, which look quite nice and aren't just like standard leaves. And interestingly, it actually doesn't look like the log goes down into the swamp. As you can see, the log is actually here, and it just uses this sort of normal oak log. But yeah, interestingly, it actually looks like the oak logs, or just the logs, don't actually go into the mud. Instead, the roots go up, which I guess makes sense and is a little bit realistic. The reason it kind of threw me off is because I feel like it's a bit too high. I don't think the roots should be able to generate all that high, because then it doesn't feel like roots, if you get what I mean. You can also see here that we have the muddy mangrove roots, which will also generate, and we'll take a closer look at those later. As you can see here, beehives and bees will also, or bee nests, will also generate in the mangrove swamp as well. And you subscribe today. Yeah, that was quite convenient. You're part of the video. I totally didn't forget to like record the bit about the bee nest, so I totally haven't come back after recording most of this video to cover that. Nope, not at all. So as you can see here, mud has been added, and I can't really notice any particular special properties other than the fact that you do sink, as you can see there, but you still go at a normal walking speed from what I can tell. There's no different there. And obviously you've got the noise when you walk over it, but yeah, there's not too much to do with mud. So they have actually added the new mangrove wood types. However, as you can see here, the mangrove trees have not actually generated with that mangrove wood yet for whatever reason. But you can just see here all of the various mangrove related stuff. So we've obviously got the usual planks and things like fences and slabs and doors that will come along with it. We've then obviously got the mangrove log, as well as the stripped mangrove log, and then the six-sided one, and same with the stripped six-sided mangrove wood, the mangrove roots, the muddy mangrove roots, the mangrove leaves, propagule, sign, boat, both with the chest and the button and the pressure plate. So let's actually take a look at all of those mangrove blocks real quickly. So this is what all of the new mangrove stuff looks like placed down. I actually really like this wood. And one thing I'm intrigued is whether it fits with the crimson stuff, and it kind of does, I think. I don't know, I'm not a builder, so I'll leave it up to you. But that was one of the first things I thought of when I actually saw this wood. But wait, there's more. So we also have the new various mud blocks and variations now included. So we have the packed mud, mud brick slab, mud brick stairs, mud brick wall, muddy mangrove roots, and mud. And this is what they all look like placed down, as you can see in that actual order as well. Okay, so this is actually how you craft the packed mud. You just use a mud block and then wheat, and then to get the muddy mangrove roots, you would use the mangrove roots and mud. And then for the mud bricks, you just get 4 packed mud like this in a 2x2. For the mud brick slab, you then get 3 mud bricks to give you 6 slabs, which is pretty standard. Then it's basically the same with the stairs, but in a stair shape, and also the walls as well. And then the muddy mangrove roots, which we've already looked at. So another change to do with the frogs now. So frogs no longer croak when they're eating mobs, like slime. I thought they ate slime. Maybe they don't eat. Have I got that wrong? Or was that a bug or something? I mean, I know they used to eat goats. Maybe maybe they just eat the slime balls. Or is it baby slime that they eat? Oh, it's baby slime that they eat, apparently. Unless that's a bug. I thought they ate all types of slime, honestly. But anyway, they will no longer actually make croaking sounds when they, eat mobs or whatever. And aren't you meant to get magma cubes as well? Or is that only when they're baby as well? Okay, I guess it's when they're baby then, and of course this will give you the frog light. So the allay can actually now be leashed if it's holding an item. So there we go. You're on my lead now. Likewise, you can also use a name tag on it as long as it is holding an item. Obviously, you can't do that whilst it's also leaded at the same time, like most mobs. The allay also has initial sounds, which is, I'm assuming just the sounds when it spawns in, but it does seem like it's got more sounds than normal. So I'm going to be quiet so you can hear it when it spawns in. Okay, there was actually another one playing. Let's go over here so you can only hear it. But yeah, they've got sounds now, which I'm like pretty sure they didn't before, which is quite interesting. And yeah, I do actually quite like these sounds. So yeah, that's cool. So the allay will also move slower when it's attempting to actually follow its owner. And it will only start following its owner from a further distance than before. Well, I don't know what that last bit means, but apparently you're moving slower when you're trying to follow me now, because I do own you, because it's holding a totem. Yeah, it does actually seem like it's moving slower. Like last time, it seemed like it was moving quite fast. This time, it does seem like it's moving slower. So apparently, parrots will now actually imitate the warden, which is interesting. So I mean, let's get some of these guys in here, because apparently you're going to imitate him, Mr. Parrot. I'm not 100% sure what they're actually doing to imitate the warden. They're kind of just flying around him. I'll spawn in a few more parrots. You're not doing any intimidating. Or not intimidating, imitating. Unless it's the sound they're making. You know what? I actually get the feeling the sound that they're making is the is how they're what's the word? Is how they're imitating the warden, is they're actually making the sound, which is quite interesting. So they've also added sounds to the warden as well on the death and just general sounds like that. Can I pick up the XP, please? Oh, well, good to see that the XP bugs is still in the game. So there have been some change to the Skulk Sensor as well, so they can now detect a wider range of vibrations. It hasn't listed any examples. I mean, you can see here, it can actually detect pressure plates and buttons. I'm not sure whether it could beforehand though. And the Skulk Sensor can also detect players sneaking on top of them. So you can see right here, I'm just sneaking around it and it can't detect me. But once I start sneaking on top, you can see there that it did then detect me. It shouldn't be able to detect a projectile like a bow or an arrow when I'm actually sneaking, which I am now. I guess it's kind of hard to demonstrate that with that allay, so sorry, but you're going. Anyway, as I was saying, it shouldn't be able to detect bow and arrow shots when I'm actually sneaking. I don't think it is. You know what? This would probably be easier if we actually had some sort of indicator. Okay, then let's try this again. So I shoot the bow and it is detecting it, even though I'm sneaking. Huh. I'm definitely 100% sneaking and it can detect me. Let's actually try this in survival then. Right, so there we go. It's detecting me. I'm going to go over here and that's all turned off. Let's try shooting it. I am in survival, sneaking, and yeah, it can still detect me. It might just be though, because the arrow is so close. No, it can still detect. Maybe it's just detecting the arrow and not the player itself. Maybe that's what this change means. Well, if I'd read on a bit, then I actually would be able to confirm that that change does just mean that it can't detect the player itself, but it can still detect projectiles. In fact, it can also detect players falling in lava, players sneaking in water. It can also detect landing projectiles, containers being opened or closed, candles being placed, lit or unlit, players eating food or drinking potions, goat horns being played, and big drip leaves changing their state. So it's basically added a ton more things that this Skulk Sensor can actually detect. So inside of the accessibility tab in settings, there's now a darkness effect strength. By default, it's set to 100%, and it basically adjusts how dark the screen can get during the darkness effect, caused by mobs, potions, and more. I'm going to set this down to 0 because it's kind of annoying. Also, in my opinion, this should just be tied to the brightness that you're using. So, of course, in video settings, you have the brightness slider. If you have this set to 100, then the darkness effect should still be dark, but it shouldn't be too dark. If you have it set to 0, then it should be like almost impossible to see. I do believe the default is actually 50, so for most players that wouldn't be an issue, but I like to play on 100 because I like the game nice and bright. So they've added a sort of graphical effect, which is kind of hard to notice, but it's basically to do with when you go into water. The idea is that your eyes are now meant to adjust. So if I go into the water here, you can see, oh, there we go. You can see there for a split second, the screen is darker and then it gets a bit brighter. I'll actually slow it down for you, but there we go. And yeah, for me, it took me a while to actually notice this one. But yeah, it's quite a nice little change that, yeah, I don't know. Not many people will notice, but it is kind of cool. So they have updated both the end portal and the end stone, or well, I'm not sure which one has actually been updated, but what they've done is they've basically created a better transition between the two. And I mean, I don't know what it used to look like, but honestly, that looks pretty clean. Like, you can barely tell that that's like a different block now. I'm assuming it might actually just be the like order of the pixels as opposed to like a different shade of yellow or whatever. So there aren't really any more major bug fixes in this preview. There are quite a lot of bug fixes, I will admit, but not any particular major ones that it's really worth covering in today's video. So that is actually going to be it for today's video. Thank you ever so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe today to join the Alien Empire, and of course for more Minecraft Bedrock Edition content like this. I'll see you in the next video coming very, very soon. Bye.